What's up, Denver Broncos family? Do you think you know the true journey of sacrifice behind our rookies? I've got one that's going to move you. Jahdae Barron's rise didn't start on the college fields of Texas, but inside a Chevy Trailblazer, cruising the dark streets of Texas, delivering newspapers. And what happened to this kid with a head disproportionate to his body will prove that in Broncos country, grit overcomes any obstacle. Stay until the end because there's a prophecy that's going to give you chills. When Jahdae Barron was just a small child, people made fun of him. You know why? His head was enormous, bigger than his own body, as his mother, Technoya Davis, remembers to this day. Imagine the pain this kid felt being ridiculed for something he couldn't even control. But you know what his mother says about when the boy grew up and finally his head became proportional to his body? She would say, "My son always told me his heart was always big." And it was that giant heart that led Jahdae Barron to make a promise that would change everything. But before I tell you about that promise, I need you to understand where this warrior came from. Technoya Davis was a woman who did everything to support her family. She worked in information technology for Dell, sold life insurance for a few years, became a professional manicurist. But in the middle of all that, she still took on a newspaper delivery route during the summers. Picture the scene. Midnight, this warrior mom would jump in her Trailblazer and rush to the depot to pick up stacks of the Austin American-Statesman to distribute around the city. Technoya didn't force little Jahdae to come along on those early mornings, but the older siblings accompanied their mother. And that's where the competitive personality that all of us in Broncos country know well comes in. At just 4 years old, Jahdae demanded to go along. Demanded! The boy didn't want to be left out, wanted to be there with the family, helping, being part of the struggle. For years, this kid spent summers throwing newspaper bundles through the window of that Trailblazer. And it was during one of those nighttime journeys that something happened that would change everything. Jahdae was in 8th grade when he suddenly looked at his mother and said something she thought was a joke. "Mom, one day you won't need to work anymore." Technoya thought it was kid stuff, but when she looked at her son's face, he wasn't smiling. He was serious, completely serious. "I think we fed off each other's energy," she reflects today. And look, Denver Broncos family, that connection between mother and son is the kind of bond that builds champions, because from a young age, Technoya would sit her children down and make them draw up a plan for their lives. Every year she checked their goals, and she followed her own goals too, so much so that she opened her own nail studio after graduating from cosmetology school. "I don't know what my life would have been like. I don't know if I would have maintained the determination or motivation to keep wanting more," she reflects, "if I didn't have him." And Jahdae? He followed one goal since his head was disproportionate to his body. Since he started as a backup way back in Texas's defense, since the moment he stepped foot in Denver last spring. The goal was crystal clear. It's my job to take care of her for the rest of my life. In July, he signed an $18 million rookie contract for a first-round pick. The kind of money that changes generations, folks. The kind of cash that allows his mother to retire and never again have to go out at dawn delivering newspapers. At 23, Jahdae has already fulfilled his greatest purpose in life. But Technoya taught him to make plans, and now he has his own dreams to chase. He wants 10 years as a pro to leave a legacy in the NFL. And look, after seeing this guy's dedication, I don't doubt he can pull it off. But here's where it gets interesting. Broncos country. Nobody in Barron's circle expected the Broncos to draft him last spring. The Broncos themselves didn't expect to draft him either. Why? Simple. We already had 3 starter-level corners at 25 years old. Pat Certain, 2, Riley Moss, and Jaquan McMillian. But George Paton and Sean Payton didn't take a first-round cornerback just to take one. They took him because it was Jahdae Barron specifically. "These are premium positions," Payton said, the night Denver selected Barron, "and that type of player is less available than many other positions. It's harder to find those characteristics and what he does than at other positions. And look, family. That makes perfect sense. As the NFL has evolved into increasingly complex offensive schemes, defenses now spend a large part of the time in nickel or dime formations. The value of a versatile defensive back has skyrocketed. In 2022, Texas passing game coordinator Brennan Marion told Barron he needed to learn to play every position in the secondary. And under coach Terry Joseph, cousin of our defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, Barron moved all over the place during 3 years as a starter. He played outside. He played in the slot. He played in the box. He took some snaps as safety and ran occasional blitzes. If you took a look at the Broncos' initial depth chart, he was listed as nickel. And he'll probably compete with McMillian for the starting position in Week 1. But the beauty of the Barron pick is this. The Texas product can mold himself to any need in the Broncos' secondary for years to come. He took reps at both outside positions during camp. He played dime. He blitzed from nickel. Some young defensive backs are better left focused on just one position, Payton said this offseason. Barron isn't one of those guys. He's one of those players, Payton said, who can handle volume. Barron was playing chess at Texas, as he put it in April, moving with the speed of someone with years of experience. In his first NFL camp, he's adapting to a new game. Maybe Barron will shine as a rookie. Maybe he'll have a rotational role. Either way, Denver's first-round pick was as much about the future as it was about 2025, a future he's trying to build way out there. Talk to me, Broncos country. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This kid isn't just another rookie. He's a guy who plans every move, who has long-term vision, who understands that greatness doesn't happen by accident. But now comes the part that's going to give you chills. On April 24th, when the euphoria of Barron's first-round selection finally settled down at his draft party in Lakeway, Texas, his former high school coach Jason Cecil pulled him aside for a moment before he left. "I love you," Cecil told Barron, before offering a warning. In the coming years, this wild card might end up as Denver's CB2 alongside Surtain, the NFL Defensive Player of the Year that few quarterbacks have the courage to test. "You're going to be targeted a lot," Cecil told Barron, "if they put you on the other side." Barron laughed. "You're right," he replied. "He knows," Cecil reflected afterward, "and that's the mindset that separates the good from the great, family." Barron knows that by becoming the CB2 alongside Surtain, every quarterback in the league will try to attack his side. And you know what he did? He laughed. Because he knows he's ready for that war. If you're true Broncos country, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any play of the season that's coming. Because with players like Jahdae Barron arriving with this mentality, this season is going to be epic. But let me tell you something that shows this guy's level of preparation. When you look at our secondary's stats from last season, it becomes clear why the Broncos invested heavily in this position. Jaquan McMillian faced 101 targets and allowed 65 completions with a 64.4% completion rate. Pat Surtain, too, our phenomenon, faced 62 targets and allowed only 38 completions with 61.3%. That's why he's the best in the league. Riley Moss had 103 targets with 67 completions. With Barron entering this mix, we have the possibility of having the deepest and most versatile secondary in the NFL. A guy who can play nickel, can play outside, can play safety, can blitz. It's exactly the type of player Sean Payton loves to have in his system. And look, Denver Broncos family, there's something about Barron's personality that really catches my attention. Since childhood, he had to deal with people making fun of him. He could have become an insecure, closed-off guy. But no, he used that as fuel. He transformed every taunt into motivation to prove he was bigger than his circumstances. That's the DNA we want in Broncos country. Guys who don't just overcome adversity, but who use it to become stronger, who make promises and keep them, who see beyond the present and work to build legacies. Jahdae Barron's journey from newspaper delivery boy to NFL first-round pick wasn't coincidence. It was the result of planning, dedication, family sacrifice, and a mentality that simply refuses to accept limitations. When Technoia Davis went out at 2 a.m. to deliver newspapers and took her children along, she wasn't just earning some extra change, she was teaching work ethic. She was showing that there are no shortcuts to success. She was planting seeds of greatness in fertile ground, and when that 8-year-old boy said that one day his mother wouldn't need to work anymore, it wasn't a child's fantasy. It was a small man making a big man's promise. It was someone who already understood responsibility, purpose, and the importance of taking care of family. Now, at 23, with an $18 million contract in his pocket, Jahdae Barron doesn't stop there, because his mother taught him to always have a plan, always have goals, always want more. And his plan now is to leave a mark on the NFL that will last forever. The Broncos didn't just get a talented cornerback. They got a leader, a planner, a guy who understands that individual success means nothing if you don't elevate the entire team. They got someone with champion DNA. And for those of you who might be going through difficulties, who might have people making fun of you, who might feel like circumstances are against you, pay attention to Jahdae Barron's journey. Head too big, family working at dawn, starting as a backup in college, none of that defined him. What defined him was how he reacted to all of it. In Broncos country, we don't accept excuses. We find solutions. We turn obstacles into stepping stones, and with players like Jahdae Barron arriving with this mentality, our future has never been brighter. Coach Jason Cecil's prophecy about Barron being heavily targeted as CB2 might even come true. But if there's one thing we've learned about this kid, it's that he's not afraid of challenges. He laughs in their face, because he knows he's been prepared for moments like this since he was 4 years old, throwing newspapers through the window of a trailblazer in the cold Texas dawns. So what do you think, Denver Broncos family? After learning about this journey, do you believe Jahdae Barron has everything it takes to become a fundamental piece of our defense for years to come? Comment below what you think about this rookie's mindset. Hit like if you enjoyed learning about the true journey behind our first-round pick. Share it with other Broncos fans. And until the next video, Broncos country.